All right. We are late, but we
It's
are live.
late. No, an Ashaman is never late, nor is he early. He arrives
I mean,
precisely when he means to.
we can go with that.
That's what we're going with. No, you didn't hear that somewhere else first. That is a Black Tower original. Period. End of story. I don't care what anybody else says. So just put that in your dubby drink mixer and drink it and slurp it.
I did, but
Yeah,
only
you
because
did.
she smiles at me.
Yeah,
But we're not talking about W today. But one thing we are talking about, Wheel of Time. We are the Black Tower Podcast, a Wheel of Time podcast. I am one of your hosts. My name is Andrew. I Mahale the Bijans and Bijan the Mahales and poke and
Did you
prod
see what I
things
just
from the
did there?
rear when it requires.
I just did our book fan gang signs. Wheel of Time. Yeah, that's right. What? You down with WOT? Huh?
I was. I'm
What I
rethinking
just
my
saw
membership now.
makes me want to go away forever. And I am Josh. I'm the Sauron Mahale. I Mahale the Sauravons. That's what I do.
I bring the
Just-
cringe.
Just for the Mahale of it. Yeah, I bring the cringe. I do. In spades. Like,
It's a little late, but Merry
cringe montage.
Christmas. As I show something you can't actually see. There we go. Merry Christmas, as it's fucking
Merry
washed up.
Christmas.
Merry Chrysler. But something that's not washed out that you can actually read and you should go and check out, go to blacktowerpod.com and you can check out all things Black Tower Podcast, which is us. So go on over,
check us out.
check it out. You can find links to the merch shop if you want it. You can find links to the Discord if you want to join it. Patreon if you want to be able to listen and watch live. All that stuff. We were just talking about maybe one or two things we're going to do differently. We're going to have this
Wolf Brothers down with WOT.
So,
Sorry, continue. You were talking.
we're
I
never
apologize.
WOT. That would mean
I
we're all we're not. So. But yeah, blacktowerpod.com for all of your stuff relating to us. Go and check it out. And let us know if you find anything that we could add or remove, or you just think doesn't need to be. I don't care. Let us know. Give us feedback. Why not?
Do it. Do it. Do it now.
Yeah. Or do it later. You know, do it while you're listening to this. And let us know what you
I'm
think.
not your dad.
I mean, could be for the right amount.
Could be. Could be.
What?
You never know. So blacktowerpod.com, it's really awesome. It's got a lot of good stuff on there. Just like Andrew said, he's awesome, and he's got a lot of good stuff on him. And, tonight we have, I think, kind of a fun topic. I think it's something that we haven't done for a long time. But before we start chewing on that bone, do you want to protect any listeners?
Yeah, let's do a spoiler warning right about now.
Welcome to the Black Tower, a Wheel of Time podcast. Alright, let's check this one. This podcast will likely be spoiling books 1 through... Oh, what's this? An envelope addressed to me. No name, though. Let's see what's inside. Oh my. This podcast will likely spoil all the books in the series, and apparently being a Patreon will expose you to information that should be left unseen. Protect yourself by pulling that spoiler column all the way on. And I need a drink. That's way more of Andrew than I have ever wanted to see. Why would you braid it down there? Because I
The spoiler warning works perfectly with the joke I made.
That it do.
There you go. In order to see all the good things on Andrew being a Patreon.
Yeah, apparently. I don't even remember taking those pictures, but
Andrew, we do a lot of things we don't remember under the influence of the taint.
I mean, definitely go with that. But what do we got? What are we talking about this episode?
Well, tonight we're going to be talking about a very specific role in the White Tower, right? Um, there aren't many. Okay, we've got the Amerlin seat, and
Oh, we're both clicking, trying to show comments at the same time.
Oh, we're off to a great start. 2024, I love you.
So I would generally never do it because I would always full screen to get rid of the like StreamYard's blaring like white background. And I've found a plugin that turns the background dark, so I don't have to do that anymore.
You know what? I'm gonna leave the comments to you.
Yeah.
Is that a broken crown?
No, it's just broken.
No. Self-appointed broken crown. So you've got the White Tower, and in the White Tower you
Burger King
have
rip off a couple of the tops.
There you go. You know he'll do it. Don't encourage him.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
So you go into the White Tower. You got the Amerlin seat, mother. You've got the Keeper of the Chronicles. You've got the heads of all the Ajas and their assistants and whatnot. But there is another role, and for many of you already know where I'm going to go with this. We're going to talk about the Keeper of the Chronicle. Oi, oi, oi. Mistress of Novices. Good gravy. I'm going to get through this. I'm going to get through this tonight. I promise. I just need a little bit more of this. Now, the Mistress of Novices is a very important role in the White Tower. She basically is the, overseer of the novices, the new recruits. Who has a penchant for the laying on of hands?
I mean, she's responsible.
Or just laying on of switches. I don't know.
I mean, she's responsible for the discipline and well-being of the novices and accepted.
Yeah.
And molds the girls into young women with a very forcible mold sometimes. Like old school, like this is the kind of like misbehavior punishment that like Robert Jordan probably grew up with, like in schools, or like very much at the tail end of, back whenever like teachers in the like American school system could like spank the kids for misbehaving.
Yeah.
So,
like whop out the big paddle with the holes in it. Supposedly it made it so that you could move the paddle faster. I never bought into that.
oh, I thought that was always a frat thing, which ultimately was just an excuse for people to spank you for no reason other than to do it and say it was hazing. Okay. Like, yeah, okay, it still happens where they could legally spank the children in a purely disciplinary fashion. All right.
You slut.
Right. Not all these nasties out here that somehow make it into the school system.
Okay, but that's kind of a thing because one of the biggest things about the Mistress of Novices is she's very heavy-handed with a switch or a paddle, right? That's like a main aspect of her job is doling out discipline. And for some reason, which I don't know what the reason is, but I can give a couple guesses. Still happen. Yeah, in some places.
Yeah. It is not banned in Alabama, Arizona, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Indiana, Kansas, kind of Kentucky, Missouri, kind of North Carolina, South Carolina, Texas, and Wyoming. Okay, so a lot of the Bible Belt and Midwest.
Well, but a lot of that you have to have like parents have to sign off and give consent for that, right?
Oh yeah, that's what just reading like Oklahoma and Tennessee. It's banned only for students with disabilities unless a parent gives written consent.
Yeah.
What? Oh, and then there's like
crazy
private schools. Oh, it's not banned in most private schools. Like Maryland and New York just banned it in private schools in 2023.
What?
Wow. This still happens places. I thought it was just like completely banned. I was wrong.
I thought it was more of a threat than anything. Like I didn't know it was actually in practice.
Yeah. I mean, most of the places that have banned it in like the mid to late like 1980s, early 1990s. Like Rhode Island did it in 1977. Good on you. What the hell? Freaking New Jersey banned it in 1867 for both public and private.
New Jersey ahead of the times.
In the middle of like of us having our biggest like brother to brother fight as a country. Well, kind of tail end of that, I think.
And New Jersey's
New
like,
Jersey
you know,
was like, you know what, we need to stop whooping kids in school. Yeah,
that's a paddling.
Are they the only ones that? Yeah, they're the only state that banned it in the 1800s.
Wow.
Fucking, I've never been.
I mean, hey,
I've rarely been more impressed by New Jersey.
I mean, a broken clock is still right twice a day.
So then they did Jersey Shore, so.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Which
like
is more of an argument as to why you should be able to spank kids in school, I guess.
Do you want to be like New Jersey? No. Then bend over.
You want to wind up like Snooki? No? Okay.
The terrible thing is a lot of kids are like, hell yeah, I want to be Snooki.
They're no longer tangents now. I like this. Thanks, Jamie. They're BTP
side quest. I love it. Well, we are talking about spanking because there's a weird. Well, we're talking about the Mistress of Novices, and in the books, there's like a weird amount of times in which the Mistress of Novices is just beating the hell out of a poor kid with a switch or a stick or a hand or a comb or a brush. I don't know, man. Whatever fucking kids get hit with in the White Tower. And there's a lot of it.
Mississippi says it's banned, but only for students with disabilities or special education plans. My little brother had one of those. I mean, he had disabilities, has disabilities. But when you read special education plans, it makes you think that like they send a letter home and be like, "Hey, we're going to help make sure your kid with ADHD pays attention by whacking them on the knuckles with a ruler every time they don't."
Yeah. That's, I got to say, man, I'm glad that it was not in practice when I was in school because I would have got that shit all the time. Of course, most of my younger school days was in Utah. So I don't think they did that.
I did. I just went down a rabbit hole. See, I really appreciate this article. It's a Wikipedia article, but they used color coding Excel sheets, which is I use all the time at work. And Josh, you saw a picture of some of mine earlier.
Oh, today. Yeah. You should see my personal budget. I put it in an Excel spreadsheet. That shit's color coded. It's beautiful.
Got one of those. Yeah, it's a little bit of a flip. Well, not really. It's because I mentioned getting spanked in school for ADHD, and Josh went, "That's a nightmare of mine."
Yeah. No, I was in Utah, and they were just like, "Well, let's give him this test, and then we can put him on drugs."
You need to pay attention, or John Smith's going to be very disappointed.
We're going
to... Oh, man.
I hate how many times I heard that as a kid.
Do you want to... Are you touching yourself in there, Josh? Do you want to make John Smith cry?
It's Joe, but...
Oh, Joe.
I hear you. Oh, God.
Joe,
no, perfect,
John,
though. It was perfect.
Jiggleheimer Smith. His name is my name, too. What does it matter?
Yeah, that one.
That's John Jacob Jiggleheimer Smith, but you know what I mean.
I think the Mistress of Novices used a belt at one point in time as well.
She used a lot of things. All right. We can do this. We can get through it. We can do this. Yeah. Okay. Mistress of Novices. But here's the funny thing. Here's kind of the funny part of the conversation, though, because we're talking about how she's
is the person responsible for ensuring that the novices are prepared to test for accepted. And then once they become accepted, they're kind of off the leash a little bit. They don't necessarily report directly to the Mistress of Novices now, but they're still very much under her purview. But in the books, that's like 50% of any Mistress of Novice scene is the Mistress of Novice doling out a paddling. Right?
Oh yeah. Well, I think
And so
I know under one the main one we see throughout the book, Shiriam, she became a big fan, at least for Accepted. I believe it was because it was after Elaine and Egwene make Accepted that they get strapped and spanked less often, and more so get like sent to manual labor. To work to scrub pots in the kitchens, because it was like deemed more like public humiliation stuff. Like it was more humiliating to see an Accepted scrubbing pots in the kitchen than them getting privately, spanked. But I think it was what was her name, Lars, the main cook at the White Tower.
Laris.
Yeah,
Laris.
Yeah, she would walk around with like her big fuck off like wooden cooking spoon. And she would whack anybody that wasn't cleaning hard enough. Like, I wonder if it was like one of those like what do they call them? The lazy spoons or whatever, the ones that have the strainers in them, like the slots in them for them to drain. Out. Like, I wonder if it was one of those for speed and aromatics, as Mater would say.
Probably, but the Mistress of Novices does, when we start out in the story, when we first meet the Mistress of Novices, it is Shiriam Bayanar. Is it Bayanar? Yeah, Bayanar.
Yeah.
And she's the Mistress of Novices at the time. She is firm but fair, yada, yada, yada. And this is actually kind of one of the interesting things about translation from book to TV show. I noticed a lot of people were complaining that, why are the Two Rivers people different colors? Cool, great, whatever. How come not a single person complained that Shiriam didn't have bright red hair? Because in the books, this is one of the few descriptions we get where they specifically say she had bright, beautiful red hair. And so it's just kind of an interesting. And then as far as another translation aspect goes there, you can't really show spankings on TV without a certain amount of like laughter, right? It's not something you can take very seriously, which is why I love how they did the scene between Shiriam and Elaine when Shiriam was like, "Who let you do this?" And Elaine was like, "I'll take their punishment instead." And Shiriam's like, "Fine, you're going to be in my study, and I'm going to put the switch to your back." And it's like, oh, okay. They found a good way to do it that makes it's still sort of a demeaning, sort of like put you in your place thing. But it's also, they also did it in a way that you could take it seriously. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. I mean, we're talking about it in the TV show. Yeah.
Well, I'm talking about, because in the books, when they bend over and spank them on the butt, and like Robert Jordan was very, very specific that they were getting butt spankings. Mm-hmm. Like you can't take that seriously.
Where else do you spank someone?
I mean, you could switch someone across the back or on the legs.
Yeah, bottoms of the feet. That's not called spanking.
Oh, what's that called?
That's called abuse and whipping.
Oh.
Yeah. No.
Oh, right.
Not to be confused with whooping. Whooping was just a really good spanking, but all that other stuff was maybe across the back of the leg. We could call it switching. It's made me think of Ed, Edd and Eddy. Pink belly.
Pink belly. Professor Pink Belly.
but yeah, like in the TV show, like they just made her seem more like an administrative caretaker. Like she just kept a log in the
Yeah.
books of who came in and out, who was there, and who
She was
wasn't.
stern. She was stern. But yeah, you're
I don't,
right.
I don't remember her ever like coming down on anybody or sitting there being like, no, no, no. I could just be forgetting a scene, but the only real
No
scene I
comment.
remember her with is whenever Varen gets to the tower and is like, "Oh, hey, could you check this?" And Sarum gets up and walks away, and she, or walks away with
Yeah.
her, and the other Brown Aja sister comes in and checks the book and is like, "Yeah, no, there's a record of these 3
Yeah.
novices leaving with Leandrin."
Yeah, no, I remember that scene, and that was really good. There was a scene. Remember when Elaine was moving all her stuff in, and Sheriam was like, "Who let you do this?"
Oh yeah. Oh
And
okay.
she got all pissy with Elaine. Um, there was that. Then there was also like her sort of matronly side. I think they focused more in the TV show on the Mistress of Novice's job as preparing the young
Oh yeah. She was
generation.
there for the testing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I
Yeah.
think they focused on that, and I think that was actually kind of a smart play. I think that makes a
Made her
little bit
seem
more
really
sense
blunt.
for the
Like,
TV show.
because like we know Leandrin deserves the bluntness, but like the way she just like looked and stared at Leandrin and was just, like Nynaeve wasn't ready. Is basically just like, yeah, the like one of the 2 most powerful channelers we've found in like 1,000 years is now dead because you pushed them to do
Right.
something they weren't ready for.
Yes.
So
Well, and that's the thing. Like again, in Mistress of Novices, she has to take that as a personal failure. Like that's the Mistress of Novices L to take there, because literally her job is to make sure that that does not happen. And she was effectively peer pressured into it by Leandrin, maneuvered into it by Leandrin, and it didn't work out. Nynaeve didn't. Well, I mean, Nynaeve does come back eventually, but in the TV show at least. But that's what I think makes it kind of such a cool role, is that the Mistress of Novices can be easily dismissed as a babysitter, a glorified babysitter. But when you weigh out what's at stake for these novices and the future that lies ahead of them, because the life of an Aes Sedai, it shouldn't be easy. Granted, there are many Aes Sedai like just fucking living it up, but it's a very difficult thing to become Aes Sedai. Whether or not it's very difficult to be Aes Sedai, it is absolutely very difficult to become Aes Sedai. And so, Mistress of Novices is literally the job of preparing little young girls, which I guess I can't say that because some of them stay there as novices for like decades. But it's to prepare them to test and uh, become accepted. And then accepted can, like we said, their chores change. They're a little bit different. Their studies change. They can become better. They can begin to specialize their training. And even then, again, as an accepted, the Mistress of Novices is still there as a very influential role, as a mentor. She goes from more of, as more Shadi dropped in the chat there, principal superintendent. She kind of takes a step back from that role and steps into a more mentorship role. And if anybody's ever served as a teacher or a mentor, like, I would say that a mentor is more difficult than being a teacher, because a mentor, you have to really connect with someone. You have to really understand who they are, where they're coming from, what kinds of things can inspire them, what kinds of things they need to succeed. And where you talk about the Mistress of Novices being someone who is a principal slash teacher slash superintendent to a whole group of people, and then a mentor to a whole other group of people, that's a big job. That's a challenging job. I don't think that's for the faint of heart, even more so than just wearing the shawl.
Yeah. I mean, she also like I believe it's by like Tower law. No one can tell the Mistress of Novices what reward or punishment to give. Like they can they can send accepted and novices and everybody to her for punishment or whatever. But if they get there and a novice is like, yeah, this is what I did, and such and such Sadai, S named Sadai sent me to you for doing this, and Sirium's like, that's dumb. Okay, dust my shelf, and that's your punishment. Then that's it. Now she's not going to do that because that would undermine the authority of another sister. So she's not going to do that with a novice or an accepted. But she could, and even the Amerlin can't tell her like, "Hey, I'm sending her to you for punishment. Make her scrub the pots." Like the Mistress
Yeah.
Novices can turn around by law and be like, "No, I'll make her
Don't
do
tell me.
whatever I believe is fitting of her punishment. I would
Right.
remind you by Tower law not to interfere with me, mother." Like
We actually get an
nicer
example of
than
this in the
that.
books.
Yeah, because doesn't Elida try to like set and mandate what the punishments are? And the
That's so,
Mistress
and
to
that's
her is like, "Fuck off."
yeah. So she appoints Sylviana from the Red Aja
Sylviana
to be
Bray.
the Mistress of Novices when Shiriam, because Shiriam leaves with the rebel Aes Sedai going to Saladar, and Elida appoints a new Mistress of Novices because they do still have novices at the tower that they need to oversee, and she appoints Sylviana and Sylviana Breon.
Yeah.
And Sylviana's a no-nonsense, tough as nails lady. Like, you do not mess with Sylviana. And what was it? Well, I lost my thought halfway through. Oh, when Egwene comes back and Elida's like, "Oh, I'm going to make your life hell." And she's got Egwene going to Sylviana literally every day. And Egwene says, come at me, bro. Like, do your worst, because I'm here to fix this shit. And it's shit. And Sylviana is kind of torn between, Tower law and what she sees as a real problem that Egwene is facing that everyone else is actively ignoring. Right? So when Elida's like, you need to beat her harder, you need to beat her more, Sylviana eventually stands up to her and says, no, I will not break this woman's spirit. She's made of some tough stuff, and we need her in the tower. And Elida, eventually throws Sylviana into prison because of it, because Elida's an absolute bitch.
Yeah. Sorry, I was reading through something else. Okay, yeah, I was reading through something. So, there seems to be like a pattern or a trend of Mistress of Novices moving up to the role of keeper. Not always, but it's not a negligible amount. I say negligible. We know of at least two, because Cirium gets moved up to keeper of the Chronicles for Egwene and
Yep.
the Rebel Tower, and Sylviana briefly becomes keeper of the Chronicles under Elida. Until Elida, in her frustration at Sylviana not beating Egwene hard enough,
No,
uses the
Sylviana is Mistress of
or wait,
Novices under
after.
Elida.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
right.
when
It's
Egwene,
after. It's after when
yeah,
she stands up to Elida. Yeah, you're right.
then Elida throws her in jail. Egwene comes in, becomes Amerlin, and then frees Sylviana and makes her the keeper.
Yeah,
It's a good platform. Like, it's a good position for upward mobility if you are so inclined.
Yeah. A lot of responsibility and a lot of power. A lot of essentially unilateral power. Because
Yeah.
Morshadi points out here, I mean, he's right. With few exceptions, it's required at least a lesser consensus of the Hall to override Mistress of Novices regarding almost anything to do with her charges. And in some cases, depending on what it is, it even takes like a greater consensus of the Hall to do it. And it's implied that there are specific circumstances and scenarios in which no matter what the Hall says, or even if the vast majority of the Hall says something, that the Mistress Novices can go, no, fuck off. But like that's a massive amount of weight to take on for the position, because imagine being in charge of not just the disciplining, but the care and progression overall. Like, you know, you're overlooking like the entire curriculum and tracking and training. Like, you are the superintendent of the future of channeling from the White Tower's perspective. It's, you know, only by your checkoff does somebody that comes to the tower to train get to even go to test for their serpent ring or accepted, and then with your sign off again, do they get to go and test for the shawl?
Yeah.
So I mean, the Mistress and Novices sign off or accept it testing for the shawl is far less important or needed than it is for novices to test for accepted, because her chief focus and chief
Right.
concern are the novices, because there are generally just so many novices. But the accepted still fall under there. So, which, I mean, for book readers, I guess it's like a nice detail that the TV show included her going and, you know, curtailing and putting a stop to the lavish furnishings that Elaine brought with her for her room.
Yeah.
Well, which was already a bit of a change from the books, because in the books, novices share a room with at least one other novice.
Yeah.
You don't get your own room until you're accepted. But there is still a difference, because we do see Nynaeve's accepted room is a fair bit bigger than Elaine and Egwene's novice room. So, but that's a massive amount of responsibility. Like, literally, you are responsible for disciplining and also like nurturing and guiding the future of channeling in the tower. But you're also responsible for, at least in part, measuring the power and aptitude of those that have come to try to learn, so that those that can't quite cut it don't stay in the tower longer than is reasonable, but also you don't kick them out so fast that they run off into the wilderness and get themselves killed.
Right.
So you got to be able to ascertain, like, you're not strong enough to become an accepted, but you've been trained enough to where you won't do something stupid unless you just go stupid and do something that winds up killing yourself or others. So like, in some ways, like, it's a harsh job, but in some ways it's like a bit of a mercy job. Like, someone in the chat, I think it might have been He Who Comes with the Wine, made the comparison to like drill sergeants and training instructors, and so I think Morshadi too. Where like they do the same thing. They're supposed to watch the trainees and pull out the ones that made it through MEPS and everything, got there, but don't fit the service, you know, for one reason or another, whether it be psych or just physical capacity or whatever the case is. And you're like, hey, this person's not really fit for service. They really, like, they've hit their wall. They don't, you know, they tried, but they're just not fit, and got to remove them. And then like signing off on everybody else, like, yes, you can go on to your next level of training.
Yeah, and like you said, that seems a little harsh, but at the same time, Mistress of Novices has to be very selective about who gets to move up to the next step, because you walk a fine line, right? You have a fine balance between we have a need. That's right. We have a need for more channelers, but at the same time, we have a need for more quality channelers, and we're just not getting the quality channelers that we need. So more and more women are being put out of the tower or burning themselves out or are just not strong enough to do it in the first place. And the Mistress of Novices has to like really face that harsh reality.
Yeah, I mean, there's a pure strength requirement. I mean, I know not to give too much sympathy to military recruiters, which yes, it's a hard job. Yes, it has to be done, and it's a lot by and large a thankless job because y'all get all of the shit for all the things that we didn't know we were signing up for. But you know, it's really not your fault. But also, we're never going to stop blaming y'all anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
But just like the recruiters, you know, imagine you have that kid that comes up to you and it says, you know, oh, you know, my great grandfather was a Marine, fought in World War I, World War II. You know, my grandfather was a Marine that fought in like World War II, Korea, Vietnam, whatever. My dad's a Marine. You know, I'm gonna be a Marine. I'm here to join the Marine Corps, and they wind up having like asthma. And you got to be the recruiter to sit there and tell them like, hey, yeah, sorry, you're at least through you, your family's legacy of service ends. Now, you might have like legacy channeling service in the Wheel of Time, but you know, you got like Nynaeve's mentor, the Wisdom before Nynaeve, that walked all the way from Monsfield to the White Tower to potentially train, only to get turned around and sent back because she wasn't strong enough in the power. And you know, of course, at least in the show, Nynaeve, you know, they took one look at her peasant clothes or her country clothes and sent her away. It's that part's definitely a thankless job, especially because you know you got to have plenty of these girls that come to learn, and they're so excited to get accepted in to learn, and then a couple years later they feel like they're, you know, trying their best to make progress, and eventually that, you know, come to the creator talk has to happen and be like, hey, you know, you don't possess the strength capability to test for accepted, and if you can't move forward, then we have to, you know, exile you from the tower. Which, I mean, ultimately, you know, winds up forming the kin and everything. So thankfully, by their own need, they, you know, they don't just get kicked out and have nowhere to go. They wind up a lot of them, or as many as they can catch, wind up joining the kin.
Yeah.
But you know, that's
a
sucky job to sit there and be like, yeah, I know that you were really looking forward to this and you love this and you really want to be a part of this, but you just don't fit.
But nah.
Yeah. But
well, and it's actually interesting because, you know, we've talked about the weight of this position, and you know, we've already got the spoiler on it. So, and leave me in the comments below or in the comments in the live here. Tell me if you had the same kind of experience. I always liked Shiriam. I reading the books, I thought Shiriam, oh dang, she's tough. Don't fuck with Shiriam. But she's also very good at the mentoring aspect, the encouragement aspect. She's always really, really good at that. And in the end, when Egwene got a list of all the Black Aja sisters and Shiriam was a Black Aja, I nearly shit myself. Because not only was one of my favorite characters a bad guy, but also she was in an extreme position of power. How many women were turned away because they were talented, because they were strong, but nobody could say anything about it because Shiriam, as the Mistress of Novices, was like, it's my show, bitch. How much damage was done to the White Tower in the decades that Shiriam served as Mistress of Novices? And that's one of those positions that's high enough to be able to make an impact, but not so high that there's like valid suspicion. You know what I mean? Like when Elida starts making all these dumbass calls, everybody's like, are you a dark friend? No, she's just stupid and ambitious. Her keeper's a dark friend, though. But that became like a very terrifying aspect of the book, knowing that the Keeper of the Chronicles was such a powerful position. Keeper of the Chronicles, the Mistress of Novices, such a powerful position, and there's no better place for a Black Aja sister to be, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I think we find out that Mistress of Novices is one of the positions that the Black Aja like clamored for to try to get as often as possible and keep as much as possible. But when we look at the known Mistress of Novices, like it also seems like a position that they weren't incredibly successful at taking.
Yeah.
Because the so two Mistresses of Novices before Cirium. So we're talking about Marianne Redhill was a Blue Aja sister, but she found up being Black Aja. Then Cirium herself was of the blue,
Right.
but a Black Aja. And then you had Sylviana, and then after Sylviana, you had Katarine Alrudian, who was a red sister, but also Black Aja. So out of what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 recorded Mistress of Novices, going back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Amerlin seats before Siwan Sanchi, all the way up to Egwene. Only 3 wound up being Black Aja. So in terms of like success ratio, thankfully, like they kind of failed, but how long did Cirium serve as Mistress of Novices, like in the tower?
I'm not sure we get a time frame.
I'm not sure how long she was. Let's see,
And
history.
I actually like where Wolf Brothers going with this because
So she became the Mistress of Novices in 992 NE after Suwon was raised to the Amerlin seat. So
okay.
she's only been the Mistress of Novices for 6 years by the start of the books. So she only serves as Mistress of Novices for 6 or 7 years.
Oh, okay. I was under the impression she did a lot longer than that.
No, she was appointed by Suwon in 992 because that's when Suwon became the
And
Amerlin.
then the book starts in what, like 998 or something.
Yeah, the book started in 998. So it would have been Sylviana becomes Mistress of Novices at the time of the fracture, so that would be 999 NE.
Yeah, because that's
So,
another thing. That's another thing to take into account. The timeline of the book series is not very long.
oh yeah, it's
Remember,
only 2
guys,
years roughly.
Beltane is the spring festival. So Rand and Tam and all the Emmons Fielders are celebrating in the very beginning of the Eye of the World. They're celebrating the end of winter in 998.
So the previous Mistress of Novices that was also Black Aja, Marianne Redhill, was appointed under Noan Mazadim as the Amerlin seat, who became Amerlin seat in 950 NE and served until 973. And then Marianne continued to serve as Mistress of Novices under Tamara Alspinia, who is, of course, the name we recognize from Tamara's searchers or seekers, being
Yep.
the Aes Sedai that were dispatched to go and find the Dragon Reborn. She served only, what, 6
Yeah.
years? Yeah, she died in 979, and she died as Amerlin, I believe.
She was also one of the ones that was, if I'm
So
not mistaken, she's also one of the ones that was like considered to be not great. Right?
So, well, what I was getting at was Marianne Redhill, the last Black Aja sister, she served as Mistress of Novices for 29 years. Because she also died in 979 NE.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's crazy. Like, I love that you point out that, like, no, that is a very coveted position, because it shows that the Black Aja very, very acutely understands the importance of this position.
Okay. So yeah, of the recorded one, Marion is the first one that we know of that was Black Aja, and I believe that's revealed by some of Varen's searching and research and discovery. 'Cause I think it's like Egwene that finds out that she was Black Aja. No, it's in the Wheel of Time Companion. So it's not even there. The companion reveals Marion Redhill as a member of Black Aja. So if we go by, knowing that the narrators we have in the books and the companions are absolutely correct and never wrong or misguided at all, they're never infallible. Heavy sarcasm, heavy sarcasm. Before Syrium came into it, you had a Black Aja sister that was in charge of disciplining and guiding novices and accepted for essentially, for 29 years. And then you had the next one that wasn't Black Aja, Amira Moselle, who went from sitter of the Red Aja to Mistress of Novices. But when did she become? She became an Aes Sedai in 859 NE. And she served as Mistress of Novices during Sirin Vayu's term as Amerlin. Sirin Vayu was Amerlin from 979 to 984. So 5 years. Yeah, so Amira is Mistress of Novices for 5 years. Because she's alive until the end of the book. Well, almost. She's last mentioned in A Crown of Swords, but she dies in the year 1000 NE. But she was
starting to sound like a professor of Defense Against the Dark Arts at Hogwarts.
I mean, you think
Mistress of Novices is dropping like flies.
It's almost like the president's cabinet for the U.S. Like, you come in and you serve in the cabinet, but as soon as a new president comes in, even if you did nothing wrong, did your job well, you're done. Like, the vast majority of positions get replaced as a new Amerlin comes in, and that's what Suan does. When she comes in, she selects a new Mistress of Novices. So I think it's kind of understood that your tenure as Mistress of Novices survives at longest for as long as the Amerlin who chooses you remains the Amerlin.
Yeah, that's actually something that's common in politics around the world as well. Australia works like that. Russia works like that. It's really interesting that one aspect of government doesn't seem to change regardless of which government's in power. Now, granted, there are other degrees. There are more intense degrees.
So Amira she becomes a sitter of the Red Aja along with Pavara and Teslin, presumably. She does this in 985 NE to replace the 3 red sitters that were deposed and exiled for their involvement of the Red Aja in the vileness. Just the indiscriminate gentling of male channelers, and oftentimes death of male channelers. And in 998 NE, around the same time that Logain is delivered to the tower, she steps down from her position as sitter and is replaced by Elida. So her stepping down opens the way for Elida to become a sitter, which then opens the way for Elida to lead the Inquisition and disposition and stilling of Suan and Leanne.
So wait, was she black then? Black Aja? Did you say that?
No. But she was also one of the ones sent under Elida in the expedition from the White Tower to kidnap Rand and she winds up being killed in the Battle of Demise Wells.
Haha. I mean, that's
So,
tragic.
What do you get when you take a lonely man and surround him with a society that doesn't care about him? You get what you fucking deserve.
Wait,
but yeah, like
so you think the Battle of Demise Wells is funny? I do, and I'm tired of pretending it's not.
Yeah. But see, even her, like, she went really quick because she was a novice for 11 years and accepted for 9 before being raised to the Shawl. Like, that's a fairly fast progression or a reasonable progression. But I love how, like, the one picture is, like, of her from the comics. And it's her with 2 long gray braids and a switch in her hand about to, like, thwack the shit out of her.
She gonna
And I'm
fuck
like,
some shit up.
Red Aja, Mistress of Novices, seems about red. Why is it also C Amira Pendrag? What?
Is she a
For the dog? Oh, okay. It's sorry, Amira and the daughter of Alter Pendrag Tonreal. They share the same first name, so that's why it's.
Oh, that's not a good reason for a footnote.
Yeah. Just in case you're looking for the other Amira.
Right.
Let's see. For the Black Aja, Mistress of Novices is a more crucial role than the
Yes.
Amerlin, because you can recruit, mold, throw out, etc. Oh, you read this earlier, didn't you?
No, I did not. I said it earlier, and Wolf Brother has my back. He knows what's up.
Manipulate. It's harder for Black Aja to not be in the spotlight when Amerlin. Yeah, which is why, like, we see Alviarin of the Black Aja, like, manipulating the shit of Elida to the point where, like, Alviarin is the one that sends Elida to Sylviana to be punished.
Yeah, but the interesting thing about that, though, is Elida's ambition, Elida's bombastic nature of handling things. I mean, she has all the subtlety of a sledgehammer. So it worked out really well for the Black Aja to have a Keeper of Chronicles as a Black Aja, because, and let this be a lesson to you children, wherever you are, you don't have to be evil for evil to use you. You can just be dumb.
But how evil do you have to be for evil to send you to the principal's office?
I mean, you just have to be dumb. That's all there is to it. Look,
if you're gonna be dumb, you got to be tough. And I don't know.
Yeah.
But let's see. There was one more Black Aja that comes after Cirium, and that is Katarina Ludrin or Alrudian, who was also of the Red Aja. And there is so much known about her. Like, she had very long dark hair, hard eyes, and a sharp face. Uh-huh.
Yep, that's what it is.
Yep.
That's it.
First appeared in New Spring Chapter 4, last appeared in Powers of Midnight 38. She is dead.
Dude, she had a good run.
Yeah. Love that's all. Physical description: gender, female, hair, dark, very long, eyes, hard. What happens when you stare at the Viagra bottle too long?
Well, look, I love that the Mistress of Novices is such a pivotal position, and yet Robert Jordan does such a good job of writing it into the story, much like we view modern educators, modern educators, modern people who are in charge of educating the next generation of children, whether or not you agree with their methods, whether or not you agree with the ins and the outs of the modern education system. The people who are responsible for educating our children are responsible for educating the next generation. And if the next generation succeeds, awesome. if the next generation fails, that's on the hands of the educators. Now, I'm talking about school teachers? No, I'm not talking about school teachers exclusively. That's definitely a part of it. But in this particular case, Robert Jordan has made a monolith of the education system as a whole for young people, and specifically in this case, in the book case, young people in positions of power. And when the person in power is corrupt, at best, you will get degraded success from the influenced generations. And at worst, you will get more evil. And I don't think this is accidental. I don't think this is a coincidence. I think Robert Jordan knew exactly what he was doing when he said, I'm going to make you love Shiriam, only to find out that she's a villain. I think that's a huge trust check that he wove into the story on purpose to give us a sense of dread, or should give us a sense of dread about who are we trusting with the next generation. And yeah, it's one of the things I love about the Wheel of Time is that even these minuscule details, seemingly minuscule details, are incredibly poignant and give us, I mean, head explosion moments. Even 20 to 30 years later, we're still reading these books and going, wait, what? And those are my final thoughts on this specific topic, which is the Mistress of Novices. I think it's a really great story point, and I really love. It also follows in the rule of 3 that Robert Jordan seems to like to write in. Right, he likes to have a novice, accepted, Aes Sedai, Amerlin, Keeper of the Chronicles, Mistress of Novices, and then he likes to go over to Black Tower and say soldier, dedicated, Ashaman, and we've got Mahale, we've got Soravan Mahale, we got Baijan Mahale. So he likes to work in 3s, and I really like to think that the Mistress of Novices is sort of the Amerlin seat for the novices in the White Tower.
Yeah,
Soravan Mahale out.
I can see that. No, I mean, I think it definitely is like a vitally critical position, and you can see like how worried most generations are about the training and education of the youth of whatever time. You can see it in like the memes kind of things where the boomers are just like, oh, you're stuck in your phones. You're only going to be raised by your phones. You're not going to know what's going on around you. And then you look at pictures from like the 1940s, 50s, 60s, and you just see people set in the park just with their noses buried in a newspaper, not looking at what's going on around them. And I'm like, the only difference is mine uses electricity and has a lot more information in it. Yours is just a newspaper. But
that's it.
Yeah, but it inevitably goes on. I mean, we're already hitting the age where we say the same thing about some of the stuff that people use and do now, and it's just the natural progression of things because it's new or it's different, and we're always going to be partial to what we think is best based off of how we were raised or how we were trained or socialized or whatever. But it is a truth of human history that if you can control and influence the youth of a nation, then you can take over that nation in a short amount of time. When you look at the historical perspective, I mean, all you got to do is wait for that generation that you've indoctrinated to grow up to be adults, where they can make the decisions that affect the country or the nation that you're aiming to influence. And then, bam, if they're already sympathetic to you, and now that's when you start to push, then you can do it. And it only takes 10 to 15 years to really start making it effective. So it's kind of scary at how easy or how effective it is once it's done, and that's why you see a bunch of people like complaining about TikTok and being so worried about TikTok, and they're like, it's indoctrination by some foreign nation. It's like, no.
Measuring the pupils of your... They're measuring the diameter of your pupils. No, they're not. Stop
Well,
it.
yeah, they can fucking take the biometrics. You can have my biometrics. It's not going to let you indoctrinate me. But like, they think it's like
Just gonna
all
show
this
me more
subliminal
thirst
messaging or
traps is
something
all.
that's yeah, that's all it is. Like, there's no like propaganda in it. I mean, if anything, if TikTok wants to fix something, like stop letting anybody and everybody open a fucking TikTok shop. I'm so tired of watching every other video of somebody else trying to cash in and sell shit on their shitty ass TikTok shop. And like every fifth person is selling the same fucking thing. I get really bored at work, so I just sit there and scroll. I got nothing else to do.
I was about to say, by principle, if I see sponsored or TikTok shop in the bottom left-hand corner, I scroll.
Right.
I don't even look.
Just keep going. Like I got that, and if it's like one of those gotcha kind of things for Temu, where they try to thirst trap you into like download Temu and search for this code so that you can find some random person's nudes, and I'm like, do you not realize that like Google image search is free? Like, who's gonna download an app just for that? Like, no, the Google image search is free. Incognito browser exists. If you really got to find it, go look for it that way. Or go touch grass and find a partner. I don't know.
Touch
do whatever
some
you
grass.
want to do that makes you happy. But Mistress of Novices, Shaping the Future, has a very unique hand and influence on the future of the White Tower. And hopefully moving forward in those that occupy the position under Cat Swain after the end of the books decide to really start changing some things about how things in the tower are done. But that's top down and down up change strategy. So Sirium is the one that we get to see the most of, so I think it's natural for her to be the favorite. I was the same way. I really like Sirium. I really hated it that she wound up being Black Aja, but you know, there was times in the books where it just kind of became a thing where like, you really like this character, there's a 50-50 shot they're going to be Black Aja or Dark. So Robert Jordan did it before George R.R. Martin thought it was cool.
He did.
So,
he did it so many years before that.
And in a better way than just having them die. So
it's true.
Heartbreak, and then they die. But that's my final thoughts. Thank you all so much for tuning in and listening to yet another episode of the Black Tower Podcast. Let us know who is your favorite Mistress of Novices and why was it Sirium? What about her stood out to you? And if it wasn't, let us know why. That'd be awesome.
Andrew's got a thing for redheads. I'm starting to think.
You're trying to get me hurt.
Andrew's got a thing for fictional redheads.
Go with that. They can always be
got you. I got you.
So let us know what you think. And what do you think of the traits that are needed to be a good Mistress of Novices and whatever your metric of good is? But that's going to do it for us here. Thank you all again for all of us here at the Black Tower Podcast. I have been Andrew, your bougie mahil.
Your bougie mahil.
Bougie mahil.
And I have been Josh, the Soravan Mahale. I am the one who calls... you can call me the Tesla of the Black Tower with the way I'm tickling lightning. Aw, yeah, what's up?
Yeah, you take forever,
and thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much for hitting the subscribe button and hitting the like button. Because as much as we like having you as a Patreon, we understand that times are crazy and money can be scarce. But hitting subscribe and hitting the thumbs up is an absolutely free way of supporting us. And we love it. We're grateful for it. And we hope that wherever you are, you've had a fantastic time listening to this episode. And thanks for tuning in for your weekly dose of Tane.